Welcome to Convenience Store News' POV series, where we share perspectives on the current issues and trends that are shaping the C-store industry. Today, we're joined by two executives from the Imagine Group, a visual communications agency, to discuss how to maximize marketing along the customer journey. Terry Monday is Chief Strategy Officer for the agency, and Robert Grimmett is Senior Vice President and Executive Creative Director. Terry, Robert, thanks so much for being here with me today.
Thanks for having us.
We're thrilled to be here.
So to kick things off, can you tell me how you've seen convenience store marketing change in recent years? And what are some of the driving forces behind the evolution?
So I'll start, Robert, if that's okay with you.
Of course.
I think we've seen a couple of things really dramatically shift and shape the space. One of them is, of course, the consolidation of logos and the continued increasing of brand marketing. In that consolidation, while that consolidation is a wonderful thing for the brand overall as it increases footprint size, et cetera, one of the things that it does is it means that there are a lot of different footprints out there under a singular brand banner. And that has really complicated the lives of marketers in big, big ways. And so what we have found is that the technology that supports that has become more and more important. How the footprint is realized in the marketing plan and how it is planned for, so that there's not overspend, but that there is big spend, is one of the big trends we've seen. The other is a tremendous pull from the outside in. So we are seeing significantly increased out-of-home spend, what I would call taking it from the outdoors and pulling it into the market, even more so from the pumps all the way in, but beyond the pumps, and to the window clings and the bollards in the front of the stores, and the everything pushing into, everything pushing the consumer into the store. Simultaneously, what we've seen is coming from the back of the store forward is we've seen food. So the convenience food pulling from the back forward means that the front of the store has become an even more important place for the consumer to journey. And those are a couple of the big changes we've seen. POP marketing has become more and more important in uniting that journey and pulling from the outside in and from the back forward.
I think that's Robert, a really good point, Terry. Yeah, I was just going to connect it with you because you're right on with that journey conversation we've had before. Obviously, all retail and QSR is very focused on what the client and customer journey is. But in this scenario, there is a communication vehicle outside bringing you in. You're obviously choosing that brand over another for other reasons, perhaps. But when you do come inside, because that communication has pulled you in, there is then a very intense effort to compel you to choose this for the future also, right? There's the grab and go food that Terry had mentioned, which is, we're seeing that heavily introduced as some exclusivity to what might be offered in certain brands, but also we're rethinking what convenience is with food. It can be snack, of course, if you're on a road trip, it can be dinner tonight, it can be lunch, but there's an intentional effort to raise the bar to the brand recognition around that. But also we're in a fast-paced world. A lot of things changed. We all realized it changed for obvious reasons during the pandemic, but we're still in a fast-paced world now, if not faster. And we want the convenience of those things. And we are going to convenience stores for those. It may not be that we're going to 5 different places when we can go to one.
Yeah, I think the other thing, Robert, doubling down on that is it's interesting to me that 1 in 4 consumers visits a convenience store for lunch.
See,
So if you think about that, right, by the nature of the retail, it says convenience and therefore it must be, right?
Yeah. And think about that 10, 15 years ago, that wasn't the case. That's how fast. And then the industry has listened and they are reacting to it, and those players are winning.
With so many different footprints, like you discussed, and so many different areas of the store working together to get that consumer on the journey throughout from home to the parking lot into the store. Are there some top trends in retail design and in-store marketing that you think convenience store operators should be tapping into today?
Yeah, so I'd start on the outside. So not necessarily in-store marketing, there's that, and that's important. But from the outside in, 68% of consumers would tell you that they notice out-of-home materials, marketing and brand materials, on their route to a retailer. So it is, how are you dotting that route? And that route begins outside the parking lot and then inside the lot. 80% or some 75 or 80% of all fuel is sold in a C-store. So if that in fact is the case, I'm going there for gas, but there's much more than that for me there. And to make that and to pull that brand awareness becomes really invaluable to that C-store. And then the other thing is that, it's important that the messaging stay fresh because you're going there more and more often. So what it means in store is that those promotions happen more and more frequently so that they're not stale. Pardon the food pun. But you think about it like, how do you keep refreshing that message or another message? And then lastly, I think it's important to consider what has happened with joint promotions. And C-stores are more and more embracing what I would call a bundled deal, much like the QSR space, right? A drink and a taco, a bag of chips and a hot dog, a pizza and a soft drink. So those kind of bundled deals are becoming more and more relevant in that space. Robert, do you have some thoughts?
Yeah, I think what's fascinating there is that the frequency of shop is exactly what they want, but that then prompts that you have to react to people coming more often. So exactly what you said on if it's stale, do you love the pun, or if it is reinvigorating, if there is a way to keep it exciting, keep it compelling, keep the store format adjustable, modular, flexible to the surroundings or what might be happening. There will be times there will ebb and flow that perhaps you need to react to that even for the traffic count. We know that obviously C-store and fuel do see that there are spikes in seasonality, traffic to vacations and things like that. So there's reaction to that too. But I think that what Terry mentioned is really also very important, that if you dial back, that communication does start out of home. It starts when you're on the highway. It starts all the way back to start to bring you in. Next exit, we offer this, we have this. This is what makes us different. There might be 5, 6 options when you exit. There's that connection. And then if you're not traveling, there's also the same advertising or in your face promotion that needs to be there to pick from the multiple choices that you have. And I think brands, especially in this space, are getting really, really good at it. And then you connect it through loyalty, you connect it through these other marketing promotions, the exclusivity of food, the store format that people prefer. And you start to get that loyalty of a customer that's frequently shopping.
I think the other thing that's true too is as those promotions change more and more frequently, again, that's where the technology to manage those promotional changes becomes really important, right? Because it's what pieces are recirculated or are circulating and when. And so to really think about what those touch points are and to have a technology platform that enables the marketers to manage that in a way that is cautious of waste and value and is also, not for nothing, but conscious of messaging and then the sustainability aspect of all that, right?
Yeah, I would add on to that too. very good point. Obviously, there's a lot of store formats. There's a lot of different sizes of things. There are a lot of opportunities within having multiple sets of doors, like whatever that is of the technology platform on a managing your marketing. It's important with the store counts we see in this space. But then also if there is digital content that needs the pipes flowing to get real-time information in, having all that together so that there isn't 5,000 different places to go to make sure you're executing right in thousands and thousands of locations, that can put you out of business in a day. If it doesn't go right or doesn't go well, it can also cost you a ton of money for the hour it's not working. There's always a monetary way you can measure the effectiveness, then also what if it doesn't, right?
I think it's really important. And I also think that it becomes even more important at the introduction of food because of the quality and the timeliness of the food, and the crossover. Maybe that's another thing that's changing tremendously, right? The crossover between QSR and C-store, right? You think about Wawa wanting to be the grab and go food retailer, and Casey's.
And that's where you see the effectiveness, right? There, you start to hear the brand name and you start to know immediately what it is, right? That they're
So you talked about all of these messages to consumers, and as you I'm sure know, engaging consumers today isn't easy with them getting so many messages. So how would you say convenience stores can effectively use visual communications to cut through the noise?
I mean, from my point of view it's a balance, right? There is a way to go at it to where there's so many messages happening at them. There is mobile messaging coming at them. There's beacons that are prompting that. There is the marketing that's outside the space. There is marketing inside the store. It's about how you do use data in very unique ways as well. That can be by geography. That can be by customer if you do have those loyalty programs in place. But when there is a brand love or brand desire, they can start to push in those very special pieces of merchandise. There can be branded things like a Slurpee that are that attachment to bring you in. But I think that when the entirety of that brand, if it's not just you're going to go in and get a soda and use the restroom and leave, if there is a way for you to immerse, and I think that's where we're seeing the space change. It's where you're feeling a brand aura or a brand ethos coming into the stores, the newer upgraded remodels, they're testing new things like that. Like Terry just mentioned there's a blur happening between QSR and convenience. That's very interesting to me. And the data point that she had shared on the amount of lunch breaks that are being taken in those spaces too. There is a fast component to it, but there also is, they preferred it. They saw that as a desirable meal, and it happened in a space that it didn't used to. And so that frequency is happening that may not even involve some of the previous offerings from that convenience store. So I think that I'm going to Wawa, I'm going to 7-Eleven, they're adapting to brands and brand recognition within the space that maybe was more subdued before.
I think also it's important to realize that, and one of the things that we spend a lot of time working on is that you can't just take a QSR and drop it into a C-store. Like the adaptation that needs to occur, and the C-store marketers really know that. But one of the things that Robert and I have spent a lot of time in is what is the learning from other retailers and that C-stores can benefit from. So as you think about store-in-store operations inside of other major retailers, what's the learning from there, and how do we take that and transcend the lines of a particular market and bring that knowledge and that information and that intel into the C-store marketers? So that's one of the things that Robert and I spent a good amount of time working on, thinking about, and doing.
Yeah, we're really helping our clients with a very intentional focus on their brand and their business and how that infiltrates through the customer journey and then to the closing and transaction.
And finally, you mentioned bundled promotions, and building the basket is a key focus for many convenience store retailers today. What would you say are some of the best ways they can leverage visual communications to upsell at all points along the customer journey?
Well, right away, this is no different than retail in general, where there is the journey you put them on in the store, the layout, the way the store is laid, or the adjacencies that are happening in the store. It's all very intentional. I mean, you're in a smaller space, so it's scrutinized to the SKU level at the probably sales per square inch, right? Like everything's very intentional. So I think that those are part of that, but also there's reasons to go to the back of the store. You always hear that with other retail too, that they put the things that you need in the back. The milk is in the back of the grocery store, or the chairs or seating for something in an office supply store is in the back. I think that there's also a way for the food and beverage that you might be commonly going in for to be in the back to pull you through that experience. So you're almost in charge, right? Of this is your experience that's happening when you are at a Casey's. This is your experience when you are when you're in a Wawa. We're laying it out to pull you back through the store. I think that's when you start to realize that it's also not just food. Like we talked a lot about food here as well, but there's convenience factors for when I forgot my charger, or when I forgot my sunglasses, or when I didn't remember my aspirin, or they're hitting those key adjacencies so that you think, oh, did I bring my charger? Oh, I might need to bring that with me because I'm going to be longer in my day trip than my battery's going to last. You can really see that intentionality, and it's an add-on that happens frequently, and I'm guilty of it myself. It's smart retail in a space where they're really the sales per square foot are high from that intention.
I think the other thing is, like in the POP space, inside and outside of the C-store, it's about the emotions, and it's about the, evoking those emotions and evoking that brand loyalty, and all the way through the process. And then at the end with loyalty programs, right? So the full 360 link there.
It brings you back. You're going to get the data, right? Yeah, it's exactly it from marketers. This is what we want. We want them to join, right? So you're going to get that data to bring them back, repeat some promotion, or to learn what to stock the store with based off that data and all the third-party data you're going to get. But the customer side also is that they feel, as part of that loyalty program, that they're going to come back to that brand, especially if they had the experience where they were able to get the grab-and-go food that they resonate with. And that's where I say I connect to it as well. I think that's where the folks that are going there for lunch 2 or 3 times connect to it as well. You're going to get the loyalty points in those transactions, but also get exactly what you're looking for, what you want in that merged space that has become the QSR-ish, convenience space.
Yeah, they've historically been known as value and convenience. And so now it has become value, convenience, and loyalty, really. If you think about the 3 pillars, if you will.
Yeah, because everything, I think, when you look at the brands that are doing it right, they're probably leaning into what Terry just mentioned as those pillars, and they're hitting every single one of those. And that's what the success is coming from. You've got to be very intentional if you're looking at what am I measuring up against and what is working in those 3 categories.
Absolutely. Well, Terry and Robert, thank you both for your wonderful insights. And thanks again for joining us and sharing your POV on this important topic.
Thank you.